Dr. Rochelle Walensky is the director of the Centers for Disease Control, and she joins us now. Dr. Walensky, good morning. It's good to see you again.
Good morning, Savannah. Thanks for having me.
Well, let's talk about this confusion, because I think a lot of people are going to be scratching their heads. You have L.A. and you have the state of Illinois saying, look, even if you're vaccinated, if you're indoors, put that mask back on. The WHO, the World Health Organization, takes it a step further and says you should not only be wearing your mask, even if you're vaccinated, you should do the social distancing. Where does the CDC come down on this?
I think this is a really important thing to work to clarify. First, we know that the WHO has to make guidelines and provide information to the world. Right now, we know as we look across the globe that less than 15% of people around the world have been vaccinated, and many people of those have really only received one dose of a two-dose vaccine. There are places around the world that are surging, and so as the WHO makes those recommendations, they do so in that context. Here in the United States, we're fortunate. We have 3 vaccines that we know are safe and effective. We have 2/3 of the adult population that is fully vaccinated and really quite protected from the variants that we have circulating here in the United States. That said, we've always said that local policymakers need to make policies for their local environment. There are areas of this country where about 1/3 of people are vaccinated. They have low vaccination rates, and there are areas that have more disease, that are have more disease in the context of people not being vaccinated. So in those areas, we have always said, please look, make suggestions, but those masking policies are not to protect the vaccinated. They're to protect the unvaccinated.
So bottom line, all that context is actually quite helpful, but the bottom line is the CDC still says if you are vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask.
That's exactly right. And what I would say in that context is if you're vaccinated, you are safe from the variants that are circulating here in the United States. We would suggest that you look to your local policies, because we would like our policymakers, even if you're one of the 1/3 of people vaccinated in an area, to adhere to the policies to protect the policies that are made to protect the unvaccinated. And then, of course, as we have always said, if you have an immunocompromising condition, if you might have had a transplant and you're vaccinated, everybody should consider their own situation if they would feel more comfortable wearing a mask.
Another big issue that's come up, the Delta variant is sweeping through this country quite quickly. As you know, it's very concerning for health officials such as yourself. Now, the 2-shot vaccines, the Pfizer and the Moderna that we have here in the U.S., have been shown to be quite effective if you have both doses. Johnson & Johnson, the single-dose vaccine, is somewhat less effective against this Delta variant. I think that the science is showing that so far. A lot of private doctors are telling their patients who got the J&J 1-shot dose, go ahead and get a booster shot. Go get a Pfizer. Go get a Moderna. Is that okay with you? Do you think that that's a good recommendation? Should people do that?
Thank you, Savannah. So let me clarify this point as well. Right now, we have no information to suggest that you need a second shot after J&J, even with the Delta variant. Here's what we know so far. We have seen less data with J&J and the Delta variant, and those data are forthcoming. However, we have every reason to believe, based on how J&J is performing with other variants of concern, and that is quite well, and how its sister vaccine, AstraZeneca, has performed against the Delta variant in other countries, which has done quite well there as well. So generally, people are agreeing that they anticipate that the J&J will perform well against the Delta variant, as it has so far against other variants circulating in the United States.
I guess to put a fine point on it, is there any harm in doing that? Let's say it performs well, but not as well as the 2-shot regimens. If a doctor tells you, hey, go get another shot, another booster shot, just to be rather safe than sorry, is there any harm in doing it? Is there any reason not to do that?
Well, it's unstudied. And so what I would say is just as we don't have any data to inform and say we believe that the J&J is actually going to perform well, we don't have a wealth of data to say how well you'll be protected by a second vaccine, how what side effects would occur with that vaccine. So if you choose to do that, the one thing I would ask is to enter a study in doing so we can learn more.
All right, Dr. Walensky, always lots to talk to you about. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Stay well.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.